Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at the early career of Donald Trump, really digging into his start in Manhattan real estate.
Okay.
And we'll be using excerpts from the book Trump's Manhattan Ascent.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm really fascinated to see how this guy, he's a developer's son from Queens, right?
Yeah.
And how he turned that into a Manhattan real estate, empire is what it became.
Well, it's a really interesting story, especially considering, from a very young age, Trump was just fascinated by Manhattan.
Right.
But his initial experience was anything but. He started out managing properties in Brooklyn and Queens.
Oh, wow.
For his father's company, which was a million miles away from the glitz and glamour of Manhattan skyscrapers, right?
So we're talking young Donald Trump in the early 1970s.
Yeah.
And he wants to make it in Manhattan. What was it about his father Fred's approach to real estate that kind of clashed with Donald's vision?
Well, Fred was really a master of his domain out in Brooklyn and Queens, really detail-oriented, meticulous.
Yeah.
He built his empire brick by brick.
Brick by brick. Yeah.
Focusing on middle-class housing. Donald, on the other hand, he was drawn to the spotlight. He had these grand visions, wanted to make his mark on the Manhattan skyline.
It sounds like a real clash of personalities and business philosophies.
Oh, absolutely.
So how did Donald finally get his shot in Manhattan?
What's interesting, it was actually his mother, Mary, that stepped in. She was a mediator.
Oh, really?
She managed to convince Fred to give Donald a chance, But it wasn't a free ride.
Oh, of course not. He wasn't just given the keys to the kingdom. Right?
Exactly. He had to prove himself.
Yeah.
No family money, no connections.
Yeah.
Sink or swim on his own merits. And this was really a defining moment.
Yeah.
Shaped his whole approach to deal-making.
Really a trial by fire.
Yeah.
And that's how he kind of set the stage for what came later.
Right.
So what was his first move? What was the first big, kind of splash he made in Manhattan?
He set his sights on the Commodore Hotel, right next to Grand Central Terminal.
Oh, wow.
This is the 1970s. New York City's on the verge of bankruptcy.
Right.
Crime's rampant. Property values are plummeting.
Yeah.
A lot of developers saw the Commodore and just thought, lost cause.
Yeah.
But Donald, he saw opportunity.
He saw what others didn't, right? I mean, everyone else is running away. He's running toward it.
Right.
So what was his strategy to make this work?
Well, a mix of really smart negotiation and bold risk-taking. First, he negotiates the purchase price in secret.
Oh, wow.
Didn't want to drive it up.
Sure.
Right? Then he secures this groundbreaking 40-year tax abatement from the city, unheard of at the time.
Huge, yeah.
And to top it off, he partners with Hyatt Hotels, bringing this major brand into a struggling city. Showed real vision.
Right.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
The book also talks about his personality playing a big part in all of this, too.
Right.
How so?
Oh, he was relentless. Constantly calling city officials, showing up unannounced at meetings, using the media to build hype, pressure the people he needed. Aggressive, never back down approach.
Right. So it's not just about the vision, it's about actually getting it done, right? Having the tenacity and the drive to really see it through.
Absolutely.
So this Commodore project, did it kind of set the mold for how he approached business going forward?
Oh, absolutely. It was pivotal.
Yeah.
Not only a successful entry into Manhattan, but it really solidified this idea that image perception, it's everything in the real estate world.
Yeah.
This was the birth of the Trump brand.
Right. I want to hear more about this Trump brand and how he really cultivated that.
Well, he really carefully created an image, this successful, larger-than-life deal maker, upgraded his wardrobe, refined his speech, moved to a prestigious Manhattan address. He was always available to the press, always had a good quote, and even setbacks.
Yeah.
Spun them into these compelling narratives. It's masterful.
So he was building his brand as much as he was building buildings?
Exactly.
Seems like there was a strategy there.
Oh, yeah?
What happened next?
Well, with the Commodore, now transformed into the sleek and modern Grand Hyatt, his credibility skyrocketed, especially with banks.
Of course.
And this gave him the leverage to go after his next venture, the one that would solidify that Trump brand as luxury and opulence. Trump Tower.
Trump Tower. That's the one that really, really put him on the map. Tell me about that.
Oh, it was the culmination of his ambition. 58-story mixed-use skyscraper on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Grand atrium, pink marble, even a huge waterfall. Revolutionary design. And Donald's knack for attracting high-profile tenants.
Yeah.
It became an icon, a symbol of wealth and aspiration. But getting there wasn't without controversy.
Oh, okay. Laid on me. What kind of controversy?
Well, acquiring the property involved some, let's say, aggressive tactics. He leveraged what are called air rights threats.
What does that mean?
Basically threatened to build this massive, unattractive structure.
Oh.
That would block the sunlight and views of the existing building.
Okay.
Devalue the property. Force the owner's hand. Donald got the site for Trump Tower.
A real power play.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there any backlash?
Oh, yeah. There was criticism, especially about the demolition of the existing Bonwit Teller building. It had these Art Deco elements that were supposed to be preserved.
Right.
But they were destroyed.
And of course, Donald being Donald, he was not one to back down.
Never. He just deflected the criticism, used the media attention to his advantage, fueled the hype.
So kind of a recurring theme here, using controversy to his advantage.
It's a pattern.
It's fascinating. It's all intertwined, his personality and his business, creating this huge brand.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the impact of Trump Tower's success on his career?
Trump Tower was more than just a building. It was a statement. Cemented the Trump brand as synonymous with luxury exclusivity. Financial success of the project, that cemented his reputation. He was a major player in Manhattan real estate. But more than that, it validated his approach to business.
Yeah.
The calculated risk-taking, the aggressive negotiation, the masterful media manipulation, these early successes, they laid the foundation for everything that came after. Shaped his business philosophy, set the stage for his expansion beyond New York City.
This has been an incredible journey so far, and we've only just scratched the surface. From those humble beginnings in Brooklyn and Queens to the grand stage of Manhattan, witnessing the rise of Donald Trump, the birth of his iconic brand, it's amazing how those early experiences shaped his whole approach to business and really set the stage for everything that came after. So what's next? Where do we go from here in our deep dive?
Next, we're going to explore how Donald took these early successes and expanded his empire beyond Manhattan. We'll delve into his ventures in Atlantic City, where he took on the world of casinos, facing new challenges, pushing his business strategies to the limit. We'll see how he navigated this new landscape, applying the lessons he learned in Manhattan, and further shaping his approach to deal-making, risk-taking, and brand building.
Sounds like things are about to get even more interesting. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive as we explore those high-stakes ventures and really dig into the lessons they hold for understanding Donald Trump's rise to prominence.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Donald Trump's early career. So we just explored his Manhattan beginnings, those early projects, and now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to look at how he expanded beyond New York City.
Okay.
Specifically, his move into Atlantic City and the casino scene there.
Yeah, Atlantic City, early 1980s. It's becoming this, kind of a hub for gambling, entertainment, that kind of thing.
Right.
So Donald's coming off those Manhattan successes. How does he approach this new world? Does he bring that same kind of, energy style to Atlantic City?
Oh, absolutely. He sees the potential, right? Jumps in head first. That audacity, that strategic deal making,
yeah,
it's all there. He establishes himself as a major player in Atlantic City pretty quickly.
And what's interesting about his approach, I mean, does he employ similar tactics to what we saw in those Manhattan projects?
He does, but there's a twist. He really understood branding.
Yeah.
Creating an experience.
Okay.
So his casinos, places like Trump Plaza, the Trump Taj Mahal,
yeah,
they weren't just places to gamble. They were destinations, these opulent, over-the-top, you name it.
So he was selling a lifestyle, really, right? Like a fantasy.
Exactly. Extravagance like Atlantic City had never seen.
It seemed like a natural progression from what he was doing in Manhattan with that focus on luxury and exclusivity. Did it pay off? I mean, was this a successful approach?
Initially, yeah, hugely popular. High rollers, tourists, everyone was flocking to these places. He used his reputation, his media savvy, generated a massive buzz.
Right.
But the Atlantic City experience,
yeah,
it also revealed some vulnerabilities.
Oh, interesting. Okay, like what kind of vulnerabilities?
Well, the competition in Atlantic City, it was fierce.
Right.
Donald, he got overextended. To finance these huge casino projects, he relied heavily on junk bonds.
Oh, so high risk, high reward.
Yeah, high returns, but also, a lot of risk.
Right.
Juggling all that debt, competing with these established casino operators, it created a pretty volatile situation.
So it starts to backfire.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
There were accusations of, let's just say, questionable business practices, allegations of connections to organized crime, even a bankruptcy filing for the Trump Taj Mahal.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So it was a turning point. Showed the potential pitfalls of his aggressive tactics.
Yeah, it's like he was always walking this tightrope, right? Between success and and disaster, always pushing those limits, sometimes maybe a little too far. It makes you wonder if these early struggles, if they foreshadowed some of the challenges he would face later on.
It's an interesting thought. But even with those challenges, you got to give him credit. He was resilient, always bounced back, reinvented himself, never out of the game.
Right, that ability to control the narrative, even when things are going bad.
Yeah, deflecting criticism, never admitting defeat. It became a part of his whole public persona.
So did this Atlantic City experience, did it shape his approach to business going forward?
Oh, without a doubt. Atlantic City was a mix of highs and lows, but there were valuable lessons.
Right.
It showed the importance of branding, spectacle, capturing that public attention,
Yeah.
but also the need for, a bit of prudence, careful financial management.
Bit of balance, maybe.
Right. And those lessons, they informed everything that came after, including his move into media and entertainment.
Okay, let's talk about that. How does he go from real estate and casinos to the world of media and entertainment? What's that transition like?
Well, it was calculated, right? He leveraged his fame, his notoriety.
He was growing at this point.
Yeah, by the late 80s, early 90s, he was this larger-than-life celebrity. TV appearances, best-selling books, like The Art of the Deal. He even launched his own board game.
Oh, wow.
He knew fame, notoriety, those were assets.
Right.
He used them brilliantly to build his brand, reach a huge audience.
Yeah, so he's capitalizing on his image, his persona.
Right.
It's fascinating, this transformation from real estate developer to pop culture icon.
Yeah.
Did this exposure in the media, did it ultimately lead to his decision to enter politics, do you think?
It definitely laid the groundwork. He honed those skills, commanding attention, controlling the narrative, connecting with a certain segment of the population.
Yeah.
He bypassed those traditional gatekeepers, cultivated a direct relationship with his audience.
It's a strategy that he would use very effectively in his political campaigns later on.
Right.
This has been so revealing. I mean, we've traced his journey from those early days in Manhattan, the ups and downs of Atlantic City, and now this foray into media and entertainment. It's like each phase built upon the previous one.
It's a remarkable trajectory. Lots of calculated risks, calculated image building.
Yeah.
We've seen him leverage successes, learn from setbacks, always adapting to stay relevant, to expand his influence.
It's clear that his early career, it was a mix of, audacity, ambition, and this understanding of how to really work public perception.
Right.
But what does it all mean? What are the takeaways? What have we learned?
Well, those are the big questions, right? And we're going to tackle those and more in the final part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned as we try to unravel the lasting impact of these really formative experiences. Wow, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have.
I mean, we went from those early days in Brooklyn and Queens to the big time in Manhattan.
Yeah.
That roller coaster ride in Atlantic City, then that really fascinating move into the world of media and entertainment. It's been quite the journey.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah. So looking back at everything we've talked about, what are like the biggest takeaways for you from exploring, his early career like this?
Well, you can't deny his ambition, that sheer determination. I mean, he set these huge goals, these incredibly ambitious goals, and even when he faced setbacks, he never wavered. It was relentless.
And that can be both, I don't know, admirable and also a little bit concerning, right? It's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly. It's that drive that propelled him to achieve so much, but it also led him to, push those boundaries, bend the rules even. And sometimes he left a trail of broken deals and legal battles.
And even strained relationships. The book touches on that, how the single-minded pursuit of success sometimes came at a cost.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a reminder that ambition is a powerful force, but it also needs some balance, right? Ethics, responsibility, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But beyond the ambition, I mean, there's this real element of showmanship, He knew how to create a spectacle, how to control the narrative.
Absolutely. He was a master of self-promotion, using the media. I mean, he knew how to grab that attention, create a buzz, even turn bad press into a kind of publicity.
Yeah, and it seemed to work for him.
It did.
It's like he was always one step ahead, knowing how people would react and using that to his advantage. It's fascinating and, I don't know, a little bit unsettling at the same time.
Yeah, it's a strange combination. That's what makes his story so interesting. He's this complex figure. I mean, he was this brilliant businessman, made these shrewd deals, built this empire, but he also made, these risky bets that almost took him down. Master of branding and image, but also accused of deception and unethical behavior. I mean, he's a walking contradiction.
He really is. And it kind of reminds you that the world is rarely black and white, right? I mean, people, especially people who achieve a level of fame like he did, they're complex. There are multiple layers there, always.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to dig deeper, look beyond just the headlines, the sound bites, and try to really understand the forces that shaped these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
What motivates them? What are the consequences of their actions?
Those are questions we should be asking about anyone in a position of power, right? Not just public figures like Donald Trump, but anyone with that level of influence.
It's about thinking critically, having these informed discussions.
I completely agree. I mean, that's one of the things I'm taking away from this deep dive, looking into his early career. It's not just about understanding him, as this individual, but using his story as a way to look at these bigger themes, these broader issues.
That's right. Ambition, power, media, even the American dream itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we've gone from, those streets of Queens to those towers of Manhattan and beyond, really unpacking these moments that shaped his early career. We've seen the ambition, the successes, the failures, and the emergence of that unmistakable Trump style, right? I mean, he really created something unique. But I think the biggest question that remains, that really sticks with me, is, did those early wins, did that foundation, that mix of brilliance and ruthlessness, did it ultimately pave the way for everything that came later? Those later chapters that were, well, let's just say more divisive. I think that's something for all of us to think about, to really consider as we see how his story continues to unfold.
And how it continues to impact the world around us.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating exploration of, well, someone or something that shaped our world.